Hey guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Monday, February the 17th, 2025. And what a great weekend of boxing. It all started, of course, on Saturday morning, went into late Saturday afternoon. It was a big day. Is it Keyshawn Davis? Keyshawn Davis. There's a few comments about my pronunciation, so I apologise for that. It's not Keyshawn, it's Keyshawn. Keyshawn Davis is his name. Okay, just for future reference. But you know, Davis had a really good win. I covered that yesterday, of course, over Dennis Berenchuk. A very, very impressive performance from Keyshawn Davis, and he's going to have some big fights down the track and a really good undercard as well. Again, I know I covered this yesterday, but a really good day of boxing. It was a really nice day too. So if you're like me, you didn't get anything done that day, you might have to make up some brownie points with the lovely. And then, of course, yesterday we had the Jack Catterall Arnold Barboza fight, Junior Arnold Barboza Jr. Really good fight, actually. Not the most, like when I say a really good fight, not as far as just action-packed and a slugfest or anything like that. It was just a really good tactical battle. I was surprised, though, that Barboza did get the decision. I thought it was close enough that it might have went the home fighter's way. Now, I know it's not the way it should be, but it is. It's just the way it's always been and probably always will be until the artificial intelligence judges enter the equation. But Eddie Hearn, not happy. Again, he's been beaten by an Oscar De La Hoya fighter. Hasn't been the best sort of year or so for Eddie, has it? But look, I must admit it could have gone either way. I do agree with the judges' decisions. I think it was 115, 113 all across the board. 2 for Barboza and 1 for Catterall. I just thought Catterall might have been a bit cautious early on. I thought that it was the first probably 4, 5, 6 rounds, whatever it was very, very tactical. I just thought Barboza won a lot of those early rounds just by having a slightly higher work rate, slightly more aggressive. I thought his punches had a little bit more pep on them. Well, I just thought Catterall was a bit cautious, so that he boxed. Look, it is always the way with Jack Catterall, though. He does tend to be cautious early. He does also. He can be a bit negative sometimes. He can get on the, or sometimes he can get on the bike a little bit and become a little bit too defensive. I just thought early on that Barboza, as I said, like just being just a little bit more on, and surprisingly, the judges not the judges, but the commentators on the day I think they gave Catterall 3 of the first 4 rounds, and I must admit I probably had it the other way. A lot of tough rounds to score though, a lot of 50-50 rounds, all that sort of stuff. But as the fight went on, Catterall probably found his rhythm a little bit more, but I just thought Barboza matched him in everything that he did. And look, it was a close fight, it really was. And at the end of the fight, I really couldn't tell who was going to win. I probably thought 115, 113 for Barboza was the correct decision. But again, as I said, I just thought with the fact that the fight was in England, that Catterall would get the decision. And what it's done is really heated. Oh, come here, man. Sorry. So I'm on a route at the moment that Neil can sort of get away from it a little bit if I don't pay attention to him. But yeah, it's opened up the division a little bit, because now Barboza's got that WBO interim title, and it looks like Turki Al Sheikh will match him or force Teofimo Lopez to fight Barboza next, which will be a really, really good fight. And this could be the Alcatraz fight that we're talking about now. I sort of joked about it the other day. I must admit I didn't think it was a serious proposition, considering the fact that the Alcatraz Island, you got to get boats out there, and there's only 700 on a boat, and the yard's not that big, and all the production issues they would have. But it looks like they're serious about it. So if that's the case, we could have Teofimo Lopez, Arnold Barboza Jr. on the rock, which would be pretty cool. It would be really cool to see it. But I've got a feeling that Teofimo Lopez wasn't overly excited about the fight. He did put on social media, he said, what's he say? He was shaking his head, but he'll do what he has to do. And isn't it great that in normal circumstances, Teofimo Lopez would probably say, nah, don't want Barboza. Either he's too much of a challenge, or for whatever reason doesn't want to fight him. And this is the good thing about the current situation where now Turki Al-Sheik's saying, well, that's fine that you don't want to fight him, but if you want to be part of our program and our roster going forward, then you fight him. It's as simple as that. We want the best fights, and that is one good thing to come out, because Teofimo Lopez is definitely one of those fighters, in my opinion, that would be probably avoiding someone like Barboza and going for someone a little bit easier. Hasn't really, apart from Loma, that he had the fight for the world title back in, what was it, 2020, I think it was, hasn't really had that big fight. I mean, he beat Josh Taylor as well, but that again was as a challenger for the belt. As the champion, hasn't really, whether it be lightweight or 140, hasn't seeked, is that the word? Hasn't looked out for the best fighters to defend his belt against. Now, I know he only got one defence against George Kambosos, but that certainly wasn't a fight that went according to plan, because he didn't rate George at all and probably saw that as an easy defence and paid the price. Didn't look great in his last couple of fights, Teo. And as I said, I don't think he would want this fight at all if it was up to him. But of course, it's not up to him now. It's up to Turki Al-Sheik. And he said, well, Teo, young man, you will fight Arnold Barboza Jr. or nobody. And I think the fact that they're going to do on the Rock will be awesome. There was also talk that maybe he might target Richardson Hitchens, but I've got a feeling that they've got George Kambosos firmly in his sights. They've already started the social media shit on that already. George is the best in the business at it, by the way, but Richardson Hitchens has had a crack back, and you would think that after George gets done with Dord Jordan, that will be the fight. You would think maybe, well, Woody Hitchens might have a defence in the meantime, because George doesn't normally fight more than once a year, though he might be forced to on this occasion, because was it March 22? You would think that it would be for George, October, November, if he's going to fight again this year, and that would be a long time out for Hitchens. So you get a feeling that Hitchens will have or do you have a tune-up as a champion? Probably not. But either way, I think he'll have another fight, and we'll have George and Richardson Hitchens at the end of the year. So really, really good times in the 140-pound division. You throw in there, whether he's 140 or 147, whatever he's going to be, Ryan Garcia as well, Devin Haney, some really good matchup. Liam Paro, obviously, if he comes back as well. Well, when he comes back, but if he gets another crack at the world title. So some really good fights to be made in that division now. It's one of the best divisions in boxing, along with sort of 154, 135, and especially if the 135 sort of morphs into the 140-pound division with Davis and Shakur Stevenson and these types of guys all sort of in the mix against each other. That 135 to 140-pound division could be the best sort of weight bracket in boxing going forward. So some real exciting times ahead. Speaking of exciting times, this weekend, well, big on numerous fronts. You probably think I'm talking about the Riyadh card, but I'm actually really looking forward to our man, Jason Moloney, in his big fight on Monday. It'll be Australian time, Monday night, which is even better. It's an odd night to have boxing. But I suppose they think the same about us having it on a Wednesday night most of the time. They have it on Mondays over in Japan. Now, how's this for you? Jason leaves the Brisbane airport with a few friends and family. He goes over there with Andrew. Very, very little fanfare. Not much being said at all. You would have seen, if you follow them on social media, the quick snap at the airport. And Andrew and Jason just... they didn't have the Moloney T-shirts on. You'd probably just think they were just two young guys at the airport jumping on a flight. He arrives in Japan to a media circus. I reckon there was about 20 reporters waiting for him when he got off the plane, surrounding him, lights flashing and microphones in his face. And he's a star over there. So what does that say about the state of the sporting media here in Australia? I understand things are different, different focuses on different sports, but We have a guy who can barely get an article written about him over here. Barely get any, even social media presence. I did see, I think it was before the fight, did an interview with him the other day, which was awesome. And I have had this conversation with Jason before, by the way, about what sort of, how many requests that he gets for interviews and all this sort of stuff. And he says, yeah, no one really sort of cares, which is ridiculous. But he's not the only one. I get that. A lot of other fighters in the same boat. But then he gets to Japan and is swamped by media. They've got it right over there, haven't they, in Japan? They've got their priorities right. But yeah, and I understand, by the way, too, Tenshin Nasukawa is an absolute superstar over there. So I get it that, when Jason goes over there as the opponent, they're all going to be all over him. But I just had to have a bit of a chuckle that he leaves Australia with no fanfare whatsoever and gets there and is mobbed like a superstar, like a rock star. Pretty crazy. So that fight's on Monday. Big fight for Jason, of course. If he can beat Nasukawa, it's a massive scalp. He hasn't had a lot of fights, Nasukawa. I think he's only had the 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever it might be. It might be about 8 fights. I think it is anyway. And a lot of people would probably expect Jason with the experience to get over the top, but he's had a very extensive kickboxing background. And he was the one, of course, that fought Floyd Mayweather, was it 3 or 4 years ago in that exhibition? Gave away about 20 kilos to fight him in that. And he can fight. I watched a bit of him on YouTube. It's going to be a very, very stiff challenge for Jason. Not to mention the fact that it's in Japan, which makes it extremely tough as well. But Jason, very, very confident about the whole thing, and I think he can get the job done, no doubt. And if he does, I think I mentioned this yesterday or the day before, opens up all sorts of doors for Jason as far as world title opportunities go. And Andrew the same, not so much for him as far as world titles straight away, because they're all in play at the moment, but later in the year, he'll probably have another fight before then to keep busy and maybe improve his ranking, and then he'll be in line as well. So it's going to be a big year for Team Moloney. They sort of go a little bit, forgotten about sometimes in Australian boxing, which just staggers me because of what they've done for this country. I know I'm a little bit biased, by the way, but just want the best for the boys, and I think they've both got a lot left in the tank, and all the best to Jason. I would have loved to have gotten over there for the fight, by the way. I had it penciled in when he first announced it, but if you follow this channel, you know that we've got our pub sort of opening in the next sort of couple of weeks, and there's a fair bit going on with that at the moment. So maybe next time. I keep missing out on the Japan trips. I'd love to get there. I've never been there. I've heard all sorts of great things about it. I would love to go over, but it might have to be next time. Maybe later in the year, both boys might feature over there. Who knows? There's plenty of big Japanese fights for them, isn't there? But anyway, now the other thing I saw as well, which sort of got my attention, was the WBA have sort of raised the idea, and I don't know whether it's serious or not, but the president, Gilberto Mendoza, has raised the possibility that they might go back to 15-round fights. Now, if you're from my vintage, you'll remember the 15-round fights. I must admit, they were a little bit, probably, just when I was sort of starting to get into boxing is when they were phased out. So I'm just on the edge of both eras, I suppose, when the 15-round fights were just commonplace, and then they went to the 12-rounders. Now, if you don't know, the reason they went from 15-rounders to 12-rounders was pretty much in effect to the Ray Mancini Duk Koo Kim fight back in 1982, where Duk Koo Kim, the Korean, was knocked out. I think it was in the 14th round by Ray Boom Boom Mancini, and tragically never recovered. And they did sort of put it down to the fact that it wasn't just that fight, by the way, but that was probably the one fight that really highlighted the issue. And the study sort of found that the punishment from sort of rounds 12 to 15, when the body is exhausted, it's deplenished. Is that the word? Well, I don't think that is the word, but you know what I mean. It is lacking a lot of the it runs down, the body runs down, I suppose I'm trying to spit out, is the body is depleted so much of everything that it needs to function properly, and the brain is very susceptible to punishment, all this sort of stuff. And that's where, there's no way I would make a doctor, would I? I think you understand what I'm getting at. Rounds 12 to 15 are the most dangerous times for the body when it's depleted of so much, and that's when a lot of these tragic events happen. Now, the ironic thing is that according to another study, is that there's probably been more deaths and issues, tragic events that have happened in boxing since then, so before the 12th round. Now, I welcome the fact that they've got rid of 12 rounds as far as a health issue goes. I do sort of miss them a little bit as far as the drama that it used to involve with a 15-round fight. Now, again, I was sort of on that sort of crossover era, but I still remember, you know, I mean, even though I wasn't sort of around at that stage, those big fights, some of the biggest fights in history have been a 15-round fight. The Ali Fraser fights. Now, here's just a hypothetical for you. If the third Ali Fraser fight in Manila had been a 12-round fight, Joe Fraser might have won that fight. But the fact it went another couple of rounds, and it was almost Muhammad Ali, by the way, that was the one that was quit on his stool. Well, not quit on his stool. These guys never quit. But his corner nearly threw in the towel after the 14th round. Just so happened that Eddie Futch got in first with Joe Fraser. So you just got to wonder how boxing history might have changed if the 15 rounders had been 12 rounders. But I sort of liken it to, well, everyone knows I'm a big AFL follower, being down in Victoria, but I sort of look at it as those quarters that go 30, 32 minutes. There's been talk about shortening them to 25 to 26 minutes. Some of the greatest moments in history in football have happened in those minutes, because it comes down to more than just talent. This is probably what I'm getting at as far as boxing goes as well. It comes down to just more than the talent factor of getting through the 12 rounds. The 12th to 15th round is when, I suppose, it's the men get sorted from the boys, if you want to use that analogy, in that it comes down to heart and desire, and just everything else you could probably, digging deep down into your soul to get through. And it's that difference between, as I said, the men and the boys. But so you put that into effect as alongside the health issues of it. I think we'll go with the health, but I don't know. I suppose I'm just waffling on about it. But I suppose to cut it down, I still think that 12-round fights are the way to go. But I do sort of have to wonder what would happen if we did go back to 15 rounds. Turki Al-Sheikh, by the way, has said absolutely not. He's not for it. And since he runs boxing these days, well, I suppose they'll listen to him. I don't know. But the WBA, from memory, by the way, were the first ones. No, they weren't. I think the WBC were the first to actually go back to 12. Then it was the WBA, and I think the IBF followed after that. And the WBO, when they came in, they went straight to 12 rounders. So come on, buddy, let's go this way. So anyway, food for thought. What do you think? Should we go back to 15 rounders? I'm going to vote for no. I think they'll like it just the way it is, although it would be pretty interesting to see how some of the best fighters in the world would go today if they had to go those extra 3 rounds. So I think the fact that they are the champions that they would adjust and find a way. So guys, that is probably going to do it for today on this nice, cool Monday morning. Hope you have a great start to the week. Give us your comments below as far as your thoughts, especially on the 15 rounder thing, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.